J. Cole just dropped. J. Cole just dropped. And there is a lot to this song. To me, this hits on multiple conversations. There are going to be some convos about Drake and Kendrick, of course. There's going to be some convos about the fall off. There's going to be some convos about whether or not J. Cole can be considered number one, and most importantly, whether or not he cares. Okay? Now, I had hundreds of people vote on wanting me to break down the lyrics, so here we are. My name is Jeremy Hecht. Welcome to the channel. Subscribe if you love hip-hop content, if you love music, lyrics, content about the bigger picture within hip-hop. And speaking of that, many of you know me from my podcast with Elliot Wilson and DJ Head. Many of you know me from my Instagram content for Hip Hop DX and Uprocks. I will give you a disclaimer. I'm feeling pretty under the weather. I just did a 2-hour live stream, and I filmed an episode of The Bigger Picture today because it is 10:22 p.m. on a Thursday. So my voice is pretty much gone. But I will try to keep this brief and to the point, and I did want to make sure we did this. So let's go through the lyrics, okay? Before anything else, I thought it was interesting that he named the song Port Antonio. Port Antonio is a city in Jamaica that looks like it's pretty remote. I've never been there, but I do think that it's interesting that he used this as the title. To me, what I took from this is that J. Cole is on an island somewhere, enjoying his peace. He's isolated, and he's not focused on all of the internet talking. Now, that is an interesting thing for him to say, while he also references the internet and everyone talking on the song, but we'll get to that in a second. I think he chose that title for a reason. The first verse is really about J. Cole reflecting on where he's come from. He's reflecting on feeling out of place. He's reflecting on when his parents, split up and there was a new man in the family, and he said through combined incomes, they were able to move to a new home, and I believe that this home was 2014 Forest Hills Drive, which J. Cole later bought and used for other families in need. But J. Cole basically talks about feeling out of place once he moved to this new environment, and it was his raps. It was his raps that allowed him to really reflect on things, feel like he knew who he was, and really gain his confidence back. Now, of course, there are some bars in this first part that were double entendres, that were dope bars. We got the mano y mano, I'm Bono, I'm you times two. Of course, Bono and you too. Oh, damn, that is not Bono. Bono, you too. You get it. Double the skill level. Didn't need a crazy breakdown on that bar, but I thought it was dope. I did think it was dope. I did hear this rapper Wax back in the day. He said, "Don't push me, I'm close to the edge," like Bono. I thought that was also a dope U2 reference. But he said, "Now I'm bougie. I done outgrew the fountain blue. They never forgot the spot where I developed my plot to dwell at the top of the ville where all my skeletons locked." I thought this was interesting. I didn't see anyone talk about this, but he later refers to how during the battle of, Drake and Kendrick, a lot of people's skeletons were brought to the surface. Everyone was digging for dirt. It's interesting that he said, all my skeletons locked here. Either that means that he didn't want some of his skeletons to come to surface, and that was a possibility, or meaning there is nothing because they're all locked back home with people who are not going to spill any secrets about J. Cole. I don't know exactly which one it is, but it's interesting that he mentioned that. If I could do it all over, then I never would swap. I do think that this bar was also about his decision to step back. It's not just about the way that he made it to the top. This is about his decision to step out of the battle of Kendrick and Drake and basically saying he doesn't have any regrets. I've seen good, I've seen bad, had my melanin mocked. I've seen lifelong friends turn to devilish ops. I was Mike in red leather trying to tell him to stop. Of course, he's referring to Kendrick and Drake here. He is saying, I've seen friends, lifelong friends, turn to devilish ops. Now, to me, this is a little bit of a hyperbole, and I am hyperbole hecked. So I appreciate a good one. But I don't think Kendrick and Drake were ever lifelong friends. In fact, I don't think that they were even decade-long friends. I think that their friendship was so rocky that maybe it was a couple years long from the time that Take Care came out and they went on tour. But maybe he's talking about him and Kendrick because they were pit up against each other. And not devilish is such an aggressive word, but him and Kendrick were pitted up against each other in a battle. So he could be referring to himself. But the Mike in Red Leather I thought was a really cool bar because, of course, we had Michael Jackson in the Beat It video wearing the red leather, but then there's also him trying to, break up the two sides here in a very specific scene. And the next bar, which is pretty cool, he had, "You better beat it for you see the heavy metal get popped." Now, pretty nice double entendre there. We have, of course, heavy metal as a genre, pop as a genre, the heavy metal being the gun before you get popped. I love the Michael Jackson references that have gone on throughout this entire battle. I personally think that Drake's flip of what's a prince to a king, I loved that flip on push-ups. I think that was the best Michael Jackson reference. Prince to a king, he a son. I think that was the best flip, personally, but there were so many good ones. And then right here where he says you can't relate unless your father was not around and your mother went out and found someone else and then brought them around. He basically has this whole verse about how he grew up and what it was like to grow up and move neighborhoods and really was vulnerable with the fact that he didn't feel like he fit in. And then when he went back to his old neighborhood, he also didn't feel like he fit in. And I feel like the struggle of him not really knowing where he fits in also kind of doubles as him talking about how he doesn't really know where he fits in this Drake and Kendrick battle. He doesn't really know where to go, what to do. I thought it was interesting. And I was just on a live stream, and shout out to Professor Sky. He had the theory that maybe Cole is actually rapping from the perspective of how he thinks Drake could have approached this battle by giving more of a perspective of how Drake feels like he didn't fit in growing up and where he came from, because they do share a lot of similar experiences. He ends this, and this is an important bar, he ends this by saying, "Your confidence starts to drown, but the rapping gave you some positive thoughts and you jot them down." Again, now if the theory that this is from Drake's perspective is correct, then maybe that perspective relates to both of them. If it's just about Cole, it still makes sense of how the rapping and the lyrics and the pen are so important to him and his therapy. And I think Cole is basically saying here, sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. Cole is basically saying here, when it comes down to it, he's doing this for him. This is him regaining his confidence. And I think maybe there's a full circle moment where now maybe he lost a little bit of his confidence during the 7-minute drill incident, right? Where he didn't feel like that was in his character. And yes, he's had this great feature run, but a lot of these features, we spoke to Daylight on the Bigger Picture, that was recorded 8 months ago. A lot of these features were recorded a long time ago and are now coming out. So maybe this was helping him therapeutically to regain his confidence. The whole hook, the internet isn't stopping him from doing what he needs to do and from dropping music. Benjamin Button, Cole Flow's reverse time. To find deliveries good as mine, you got to search primes. I like this bar. Basically, he's saying he's getting better with time, and in order to compare him to anyone when it comes to the best rappers of all time, you got to go to their prime. There's a lot of rappers who have declined over time. Declined in output, declined in quality. Whereas Cole, and I agree, as a rapper, he's gotten better over time. He's gotten better over time. And in fact, he's rapping at the highest level he's ever rapped at, in my opinion. One thing's for sure that I've matured from my first rhyme. I learned long ago you can't please them all, and it hurts trying. In this game where all you've got is your name. Like Dirk, I'm smirking at dudes, trying to besmirch mine. I love this bar. I think this is the most important part. Because during his 2014 Forest Hills Drive press run, what Cole did was he went on Angie Martinez and he spoke about how at some point he was trying to please the masses. He was trying to get the validation. he was trying to attain the crown. And the whole premise of 2014 Forest Hills Drive is that there is no crown. In fact, he metaphorically throws the crown to the ground, smashes it, and says that poets just want to be loved. He talked about on that album Cole, Kendrick, and Drake fighting for the crown. He said on the intro, whether you Drizzy Drake or you Kendrick Lamar, he said he's the God MC, but he also comes to the realization later on that it's not about that. It's not about the crown. It's about appreciating the people you're with and love and happiness and loving yours, loving what you have. I think he's referring to that era where he said he learned that long ago. I can see hate in both of your eyes, but the third's blind. Of course, third eye reference. Basically not being able to see past the moment and not being able to see what the bigger picture is beyond this battle. Hate what raps become, but like do not disturb signs. Can't knock it if I see it's about the dough. They instigate the fuckery because it's profitable. But singing stop the violence tunes when dudes in hospitals. Cole has had this sentiment before. He has it on Durk's song All My Life, which I think was a reference to that, where he referenced Lil Durk right before this. And he has a line where he basically talks about if you don't speak about a rapper while he's alive on your website, you can't talk about him when he passes. And we've clearly seen in media people put people on platforms irresponsibly when it could lead to real street violence. And it's happened. Real street violence has come from giving people platforms to speak on beefs that leads to real life consequences. And shout out to Rob Markman. He talked about how real things have happened in this battle. Cash and Drake both had shootings outside their houses. Cash, the Weeknd's manager. So whether or not that came directly from the battle or not, there is real life violence that could ensue. And, people like Top 5 right now and, people on both sides, people on Kendrick's side and Drake's side are kind of being given platforms to speak recklessly when it could lead to real street violence. And Cole says he wants no part of that, which I completely agree. And which is why I don't even speak on the street stuff. And I don't ask rappers about the street stuff. And I try not to have anyone on who perpetuates those things. I'm not saying I've never interviewed a rapper who doesn't have a background in that, but I don't ask about that part of their lives. In fact, I've removed things from interviews just so that the people don't get caught up, because it's also happened from interviews. So here's where he talks about the apology, right? He says, I pulled the plug because I've seen where that was about to go. They wanted blood. They wanted clicks to make their pockets grow. They see this fire in my pen and think I'm dodging smoke. I wouldn't have lost a battle. I would have lost a bro. I would have gained a foe, and all for what? Just to attain some more props from strangers that don't got a clue what I've been aiming for. Since the age of 14, Jermaine is no king. He's speaking about the moment on stage where he apologized to Dreamville, and Cole said, I want no part of this. Now, the rumor is that someone told him at Dreamville where it was about to go, right? Whether that was Schoolboy Q or someone else. They said there's real animosity between these two, and you're stuck in the middle. You are really the middle child here, and it's going to get ugly. And both sides are prepared to go there, and you're not. So you should bow out. And basically, Cole is kind of confirming that whether someone told him or his foresight, he thought he was ready for this battle, but he said, no, I'm out. He said, I'm out. And he bowed out. Now, this I think is being misconstrued online. A lot of people are saying when he said they wanted blood, they wanted clicks to make their pockets grow. I don't think he's talking about Kendrick or Drake. I think he's speaking about the media. I think he's speaking about us. I think he's speaking about the fans and how everyone got mad at him for not, battling. But the people who wanted to see it, a lot of them were profiting, right? It's no secret that I've had a huge career boost during the Drake and Kendrick battle. A lot of my peers have. The bigger picture started as a recap of the Drake and Kendrick battle. There's no secret about it. So, there is money in beef, in rap beef. That's not a secret. You can look it up. But what Cole is basically saying is he saw that how thirsty everyone was for that in the media and the fans, and they wanted to see people pit against each other, and he didn't want a part of that. But what I will say It was a friendly rap battle between Kendrick and Cole, and I think it could have remained friendly, and I don't think he even would have gone there. So it didn't have to be blood between them. It could have been a friendly sparring match. How it would have gone if Kendrick dropped like that and Cole didn't respond right away and Drake drops push-ups, and then where does Cole fit in? Does he do it on an album cut? Does he do it after the Drake-Kendrick battle? I don't know. That's a different story, but he did get involved. You know, he dropped 7-minute drill and then he pulled it back. He said, if that means I got to dig up dirt and pay the whole team of algorithm bot dudes just to sway the whole thing on social media competing for your favorable memes. A lot of people online were saying that this was a Kendrick shot. I personally do not think that J. Cole was saying Kendrick is the one paying for bots. I think he was calling out both sides and not just, algorithm bots as in specifically buying bots, but people in the media who are speaking on both sides completely subjectively and not giving any nuance to their conversation or their takes. He was saying it became this social media battle, which it still is. I have Drake stans all the time coming at me. I have Kendrick stans coming at me for some takes. If I go on my Twitter timeline, it is completely black or white. There's no nuance. There's no gray area to anything. My voice is pretty much shot, so I'm going to try to keep going. The weight of both things. I understand the thirst of being first that made them both swing. Protecting legacy, so lines got crossed, perhaps regrettably. My friends went to war. I walked away with all of their blood on me. A pretty visual bar. He's saying his two friends battled each other and he's walking away with blood on his shirt. Again, Cole caught in the middle. Now, basically Cole is saying that either side, if not both sides, probably regret going as far as they did. And on the bigger picture, we talk about how it could have potentially been a friendly fade if family wasn't mentioned, and maybe there's an argument to say that it always was going to go there because we knew that Drake would go there and we knew that Kendrick would reply and we knew that because of their animosity that happened over the course of decades and them being prepared and ready. FD Signifier said this on our live stream yesterday. Kendrick has been waiting for this. And I said that Kendrick also knew that Drake would go there with the family mention. And so he's been waiting for it and ready. And because of that, it was ultimately always going to escalate to there. But Cole and Kendrick, I think, could have had a friendly spar. He said, my friends went to war and I walked away with all of their blood on me. Now, some will discredit me, try to wipe away my pedigree, but please find a dude out there rapping this incredibly. These bars, he's basically saying, I still want you to take my pen seriously. I still want you to consider me to be one of the greats. But some people won't. And I've seen a lot of people online saying you can't consider Cole to be one of the greatest after this apology. I am one of them. I personally don't think that Cole can be considered the greatest. Now, do I think Cole is one of the greatest? Yes. I actually thought he was rapping the best out of the big three before this battle. I had him at number one out of those three. And I think it was his first time really taking the crown since Forest Hills Drive. Even though he didn't want the crown then. Shout out to Kid Cudi back in the building. A lot of you guys like Kid Cudi. He's really cute. He's back. The real MVP, the real star of the show. So he's asking for you to not, discredit him. But he's also kind of making statements here saying he doesn't really care. I think he's conflicted because it seems like on one hand he doesn't care. He's, on the island in Jamaica. And then another part of him still really wants you to take his pen at the highest level seriously. He said, my dog texted me, I'll share the words he said to me. If you refuse to shoot the gun, don't mean the gun ain't deadly. I guess in that metaphor, hypothetically, the gun is me. I texted him back guess a gun ain't what I'm trying to be. So he's basically saying, just because I don't shoot the gun doesn't mean the gun can't kill. But he's saying maybe that's not the metaphor I want to use for myself. Maybe I don't want any of this, which is clearly true. He doesn't want any of the smoke when it comes to this battle. He doesn't want to compete at that level. He wants to compete with his pen, but if it comes with anything outside of that, he doesn't want to do it with these two. They stripped me of my spot, and now I'm finally free. He's saying they took away, his status, which they did, and which I did, and which multiple people did, and some Cole stands might say that he could still be number one. That's fine. I think he's in a different category, and I'm really excited for the fall off. I just don't think he can be considered the number one MC when it comes to what happened on the Dreamville stage. But he's saying he's okay with it. He's saying he feels free. And if that's how he feels, then that's great. And I am genuinely happy for him. I wouldn't want you to do anything out of character. If I felt like I made a mistake and I jumped out the window and I took it back, I would hope that people felt like that was an okay move as well. But there's always going to be people, you can't control people's actions, who don't feel that way, and I think Cole just has to come to peace with that. This last part was really interesting, too. He says, they say I'm picking sides. Don't you lie on me. Then start another war. Drake, you'll always be my guy. I ain't ashamed to say you did a lot for me. F all the narratives. Tap back into your magic pen is what's imperative. Reminding these folks why we do it. It's not for beefing. It's for speaking our thoughts, pushing ourselves, reaching the charts, reaching your minds, deep in your heart, screaming to find, emotions to touch, something inside, to open you up, help you cope with the rough times and shit. I'm sending love because we ain't promised shit. So this whole end part was dedicated towards Drake, and I think that this did a few things. A, he wanted to cut the narrative that there's real tension between him and Drake. He's saying, at least on his side, he doesn't have any malicious intent. It may have looked a certain way because of the features he was doing with ASAP, with Daylight. But he's saying, I don't have any ill intent towards you. And in fact, I'm thankful. I know a lot of these people have discredited you or left you or turned their back on you. I'm not doing that. I'm thankful for the tours. I'm thankful for the features. I'm thankful for all the support you've given me. You've actually helped me out. You've changed my life multiple times. Thank you. I believe that to be genuine. Okay, I do believe that to be genuine. And I don't think he wanted a back and forth to now start with him and Drake where they have to throw subliminals. He wants no part of any war with the big three, okay? There is no big three anymore. We all know that. But it's here that's interesting. He basically gives Drake advice where he says, do what you do best and go back to why you did this in the first place and go back to being vulnerable and go back to tapping in to rapping because you're good at it, because it's therapy, because you love to do it, because it expresses your thoughts, right? Reaching your minds deep in your heart, screaming to find emotions to touch, something inside to open you up, help you cope with the rough times. He goes back full circle to what he said at the end of the first verse, where that's the reason why J. Cole started rapping. In the first place, that's what rapping did for him. It was him expressing himself, giving his thoughts, clearing his mind. And he's telling Drake, go back to what made people fall in love with you in the first place. Say what's real was a vent. The song was a vent. Drake, I fell in love with Drake because of his ability to be emotional, to be vulnerable, to vent, and to give his thoughts over top of instrumentals. And Cole told him to do just that. Now, will Drake take that positively? I don't know. Drake might take that as like, why are you talking to me like this? And he might still throw subs, and I think he'd have every right to. I think he has every right to still be upset with Cole, and Cole just waited till the end of the battle, and now he's saying this. It's not like he stood by Drake during the battle, right? Because Drake allegedly left Dreamville Fest when he was supposed to be a special guest. Now, Kendrick's probably laughing at this. I asked DJ Head what he thought Kendrick would be doing. He said K-Dot's probably laughing. But Kendrick might also be like, why are you mentioning Drake again? Why are you directing this towards Drake again? Because Cole has a weird relationship with Drake. He mentions Drake in songs a lot over the years, more than anyone else. But final thoughts is that this is leading up to the fall off. This is a rollout. He does this every single album rollout. He has something that's coming up, and then he drops a song with all of his thoughts. He has The Cure. He has Cold Summer, and now he has Port Antonio. And I think this is him clearing the thoughts so that you guys don't ask about the beef and the battle and the apology, and you can listen to the fall off as a conceptual album. Okay, I think it was necessary. I'm glad he did it. I really like the song. It's been on repeat, and I personally like the sentiment. That's just me, though. I know a lot of people might feel differently. You let me know how you feel in the comments. Let me know if you like the song. Let me know if you like the bars, what your favorite bar is, and what you think the fall off will be. Will it be conceptual? Will it be nothing to do with this? Will he explain more about this? Will he do an interview? Because if he's not doing an interview, this might be his opportunity, and he just gave us his thoughts on what happened and reflecting on it. But that's it for this video. My name is Jeremy Hecht. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter. Watch The Bigger Picture on YouTube, on Hip Hop DX and Up Rocks every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm tired. 10 a.m. PST. You know what? I'm out of here. I'm going to bed. Love you guys. Peace.